Step into the How is everyone doing tonight on this fine, what do we got? Friday night, May 31st, last day of the month. Please welcome our guest. We have RagonRock. Am I saying that right? And Jen, is that correct?
Yep.
Yep, that's right.
How are you both doing tonight?
Doing great. Thanks for
Doing
having us.
fantastic.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for
Absolutely.
coming
Thanks for
on.
having us.
And you guys are the dual GMs. Is that correct? I want to make sure that I'm saying that properly for your guild Blacksails. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
that's correct.
go ahead.
That was it. That was all I was going to say. Go ahead.
Okay.
So, me and Jen have been friends for a little over 2 decades now. So, yes, we are co-GMs, and we've been running this guild and other guilds in the past together, and that's how we're able to do that and not step on each other's toes and just make things work.
All right, yeah, that makes sense. And how long has the guild? I've seen you guys around for quite some time. I want to say even in Alpha One, and it must be it must be hard having a an all pirate guild when there's no naval content yet. But I'm sure you guys are making a go of it. How long have you guys been going at this?
We were actually just talking about this, that it's almost 4 years coming up on August 31st,
Oh my goodness.
is when we made the Discord server. August 31st of 2020 is when we made the Discord server. So in about 3 months, it'll be the 4 year marker.
Wow, wow. And you said you're up to almost 700 members now, you said? Is that correct? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I would say 700 people in the community, or close to 650, 700. Um, just from people that have been playing different games, just come in the Discord server, hang out, and then a lot of them hang out, wanting to play Ashes of Creation. That's why they remain in the Discord server. That's right.
That's a lot of people. Now, are you planning to do multiple servers, or are you just going to focus on one server?
So far, it's just one server.
Just one? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well, if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and get started.
absolutely.
And can real quick, can RagonRock, can since you guys aren't on webcam, can you say something so people can hear your voice?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm RagonRock. I am the co-GM of Blacksails.
There you go. And Jen, if you could say something.
Yep, my name is Jin, and I am the other co-GM of Blacksails.
Great. Now they got your voices, and we'll go ahead and start if you guys are ready. So, give me some of your background. First, again, welcome to the podcast. Can you start by sharing a little bit about your background in gaming and how you became the leader of an all pirate guild in Ashes of Creation? What motivated you to be a pirate guild?
Yeah,
You wanna start?
about a
Yeah,
about a decade ago, we joined a guild for the Alpha of Albion Online, and it just had a really phenomenal guild leader. And we liked working with him so much, we became his officers. And after about like a year of that, he decided to step down. He's like, I want to run a business. I don't have time for this. And we kept in contact with him, but we looked around for other guilds of like similar quality and we just couldn't find one. So ultimately, from that point forward, we said, we're always going to run our own thing. And we had a guild in Destiny, we had another guild in Albion Alpha, then in Albion Online, then in Ultima Online Remake. And as we hop from PvP MMO to PvP MMO, we ultimately decided we want something that carries over those connections that you make along the way, rather than currently, like when you play an MMO, you make a ton of connections, then you stop playing and all those connections die. We're like, all right, we want that to end. So we created this PvP MMO community where people who just like that kind of thing stick together and move from one PvP MMO to the next.
Okay. And Jen, did you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I guess I would say, there's even when we weren't, running a guild together, we were running something else, whether it be like on a phone game or just a different game. But just over the years, over the past decade, just dabbling in just many different things and then really just finding yourself in the guild leader position, even in games where you just join a guild of somebody else's, because let me tell you, it's tiring being a guild leader.
Oh,
And
I've been there. I hear you.
and then you just naturally find yourself in the guild leader position again, just because it's what you like to do, and it's you're just a leader by nature.
I think we also just don't like seeing people fail.
It makes sense. It makes sense. As far as now, you guys have been together for 4 years, like you said, and you got about 700 people. And you knew at the time when Ashes of Creation came out that there was a corruption system, and the no corruption. Hello, Rakta, by the way, and welcome to the channel, guys. You knew that they had the corruption in it. At first glance, we thought that there was probably going to be corruption in the seas as well. And now that's later been taken away. So, as a seasoned leader of the pirate guilds, as you guys are, how do you feel about the current direction of Ashes of Creation development, and what excites you guys the most right now?
I'm quite excited. This is RagonRock, by the way. I'm quite excited by the fact that they made the open seas non-corrupted. It opens the door wide open for a lot of naval PvP experiences that we can take advantage of. It doesn't make it so punishing for us to explore that level of content that we really enjoy. Like, I think a lot of people would really enjoy like a bandit sort of play style if they didn't have to deal with like a corruption sort of consequence attached to it. And having such a huge swath of the map where they can do that, with very low consequences of failure, I think people are going to really get into it. And I really like the scope of the game at this current moment.
I'm going to give some nice backstory because I remember this conversation vividly that we had over 4 years ago before we made our guild Blacksails and created the Discord server. Rag and I were just really brainstorming on, okay, so like there's a corruption system and we want to play with this play style. We like this play style. So how can we just get away with it, right? Because they had the bounty hunter system where they can track you down, and then naturally, if you're let's say a red player, there's blue players that are going to see you, and they're going to start massing up. And then they're going to start chasing you down. One dies, but then the next person sees you. And then, once you got 3 or 4 just following you, right? Then they get more and more and more following you. And then you just die. So how do you overcome that? And then the answer that we came up to was, well, number one, we need to have at least a group of red players so that way it deters a massing of blue players. And then secondly, if we had to get away, how do we get away? And then the answer was a boat by water.
Okay.
And so you can't just drop a ship in the water and then chase you down. So I'm just like, okay, well, if we already have a ship and basically your getaway vehicle ready to go, and then that's when Black Sails actually became a thing and the Pirate Guild became a thing to escape to the sea.
I think there's going to be quite a few pirate guilds that, from what I've seen in the forums, seems to be a lot of excitement about going that direction, especially if you just love the PvP. Did you guys play Arcade?
We did not play Arcade. Most of our roots come from Albion Online. I don't know if you ever played that. It's,
I did. I enjoyed it. I had to get used to the graphics, but I enjoyed it.
If you can get past the graphics, it has some of the best ZVZ full loot PvP mechanics I think I've ever seen, where there's a lot of like really powerful combinations you can do, but there's like 30 different ones, maybe even more than that. I haven't played since February, but I really that got me hooked on really like full loot, high tension PvP like that. And that's where most of our background comes from, like growing up in that sort of environment.
Yeah, it's funny that people playing games like, even survival games, like some hardcore survival games like Rust and stuff like that, and Albion Online, the MMO, people are worried about, losing loot in Ashes, and what you're going to lose 130 or harvestable. I mean, it's really nothing compared to a game like
Oh, it's
Albion Online.
nothing.
So it's a
Yeah, it's
slap on the
absolutely
hand.
nothing.
I'm glad you brought that up because like the key reason why when 4 years ago when we created Black Sails and we're like, well, we got to do something to keep the recruitment up rather than just hoping that someone who's meandering the Discord for Ashes sees us and wants to join. Like, we want to cultivate people who have the right mindset that we're looking for. Someone who likes to fight, someone who can take a hit, throw a new set of gear on, and go back out there and learn from their mistakes and fight again, because that's the only way to get good. We're like, what game is going to cultivate that the best? What is the most ruthless game we could find? And I mean, the answer was EVE Online, and I want to play that. And then the
Yeah.
answer after that was Albion Online.
Yep.
And that's where our 700 guys came from, with like a little bit from Ashes.
Wow.
And it really made it easy to build the culture around, because everybody there gets it. Everybody there is resilient to loss. Everybody there is okay with running at the enemy. And I mean, if they fail, they'll just watch the replay, learn what they did wrong, and do it again.
Yep. Learn from your mistakes and grab a new set of gear. You're good to go.
Right. That was the big idea. Yep, that was exactly why we chose it. Basically, running our members through an inferno, people that wanted to come play Ashes of Creation found us through Ashes of Creation, and then what is the guild doing in the meantime? And it's like, well, we have basically the guild is training, and we've been training for the last 2.5 years in Albion. So all the members that are coming from Ashes of Creation come play Albion with us, or at least a good majority of them. and then some of them stomach it, some of them don't, and then the ones that don't work out, well, it's okay, see you later, right? Maybe you weren't actually cut out for this guild after all. But then the ones that do make it, man, they went through the inferno. Let me tell you,
That sounds
they
like
went through
it's
the
going to be
inferno.
very formidable guild out there. And now remember, if you see a guy named Peon in the Overlord guild, he don't attack him. He's a good guy. Leave Peon alone. Let my caravan go. But anyway, one of the questions I got for you, and this is kind of, I really like your emblem, your black sail images that you have up there, and with the name of the guild, what's the meaning behind the name Black Sails? Is this from the movie or the series, or is this something else? Just because it's all pirates.
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because it did exist, but when I was coming up with the names, I'm pretty good at coming up with names. And so I actually was coming up with just various different things, just trying to throw it out there. Some, pirate name, because obviously we wanted to be on the water. We decided, it's going to be pirate name, and then just Black Sails just ultimately became the thing that it should be. And then we find out later, like, hey, did you watch the show? And I'm like, what show? And they're like, Black Sails. And I'm like, oh man, no way.
That was a great show, by the way.
We've actually never even seen the show, and then
oh wow,
yeah, to tack on.
We did. We watched a couple of episodes. We streamed it as a guild. Like, I think we got 4 or 5 episodes in, and then it just petered out. But
I don't know what that girl's name was, but she was really hot. I don't know. One of them was really hot, but that's all I'm going to say about that. But I actually watched the whole thing. I enjoyed that show. It was really good.
That's cool.
And then to add on top of that, the meaning behind it, it's more so there's a purpose behind it. When you're running a guild, there's a lot of, it can become a second job, and just like anything that can eliminate additional work, you should absolutely capitalize on. And the name really helps with that, because just by looking at that name, you don't need to have a one-on-one interview with me or Jen or any of our other officers. You don't need to ask someone a whole bunch of questions about what we do, because common sense will tell you based on the name exactly what the entire guild is structured around. It tells you everything you need to know.
Outstanding. And how are you going to go about maintaining that strong pirate themed culture within your guild? How are you going to keep on top of people?
You got this one, Jen.
So I guess, what do you mean by that? Like, maintaining the culture?
Say they are wanting to do more stuff on land and not so much on sea. Are you going to tell them that maybe they're going to be allowed to be pirates on the land and hang out, do caravans more out there, or how are you going to keep them where you want them on the seas and stuff?
Absolutely. So that's a really good question, and we get asked that actually quite a bit from members that join our guild. Like, can we do things on the land? And the answer is 100% absolutely. We want to do everything in the game that you can possibly do, because you want to experience all assets and facets of the game. And that's just the adventure nature of MMO players. Is that's what you want to do. You want to experience the entire game, and you have to be I guess as powerful as you can possibly make yourself by doing everything you can to get ahead. And we exactly plan to do that. We just want to hyper focus on the sea and then specialize in that, and that's what we plan to do. So the node is clearly going to be on land. There's going to be lots of dungeons and things like that you have to do and participate in, and raids that you have to do, and we're gonna do all of it. But
okay.
We really will focus on our skills on the sea.
So you're planning on doing all of it, and you're not gonna if they want to go do some stuff out there, it's cool, but your main focus will be on the sea. So when you do an all call, you want everybody out there on the sea. I'm guessing that's how you want it to work.
Mostly, yes. And of course, if there's a node battle or something like that, then you have to be good at both.
Yep, no, it makes sense. And now you guys coming from Albion Online, I know you have to be very strict with PvP in how you go about it, because otherwise you're going to die miserably. So what are some of your unique roles and or ranks within your guild, and how do they contribute to the overall pirate experience?
So, just to preface, we're not an RP guild. We focus on maintaining order and creating an army that uh, is very cohesive and works together very well. The roles we have are very straightforward, so there's no room for misinterpretation or confusion. So, like, our roles are officer candidate. That's an officer that we're considering. We're training them up, see how they go, and after a 3 month period, might be yay or nay. Then it's just 1, 2, 3, and 4. Officer 1, and then as it ascends, they gain additional permissions to lead more people, to lead larger content, and take the risk of other people's playtime and lives in their hand. And once they've gotten to 4, which is the highest you can go, they can lead the entire guild into content of any kind. Now that involves scheduling content, that involves leading large armies, shot calling, being a part of the finances. That's a huge thing that people overlook. That's how our structure goes. And then there's a secondary tier to it called the administration. That's people who help the guild run, keep the foundation going, but don't really like being in the spotlight. They don't like managing other people, dealing with personnel issues, because management skills is an entirely different part of the job, and it's just
Yeah, for sure.
it is part of it, and you got to get good at it.
For
That's
sure.
that is how our roles go, and that's how we maintain order, by keeping the hierarchy extremely clear.
No, that makes sense. And you guys seem very focused on your mission. And I really like what I'm hearing. I think people who are very PvP oriented are really going to enjoy your guild. And I'm not going to lie. I think the sea theme is, since most of the world is going to be water, is going to be huge. In Arcade, I used to do treasure hunting. They had that out there, and that was a lot of fun. But it was very dangerous, just like Steven wants with this high risk, high reward. I believe that along with the sport fishing and stuff like that they're going to have, that the biggest rewards are going to be out at sea, but yet the biggest risks are going to be there too. And if you guys are controlling the sea, that's going to set up pretty well for you guys. So just again, I'm looking to make friends with you guys, but but also, let me see. What are some of the, as being an all pirate guild, what are some of your biggest challenges you face being a pirate guild, and how do you think you're going to overcome them?
Let me take this one.
Okay.
The largest challenges, I'm not going to say just a pirate guild, but just a large PvP guild in general, that I would say that we have experienced and overcome, is far and above supply chain management. In games like this, where there's full or partial loot PvP as an MMO, you're almost all these games are structured in the same way. And the more I learn about Ashes, I think it's the same thing. It's, you are in a state of perpetual warfare, and if you're not, you're preparing for the next war, and that's the game. And the most challenging side of that is ensuring that you have all the materials and supplies for hundreds of people at the ready every single time over a very long period of time, over like years. That's not easy to do. If you're relying on just like a couple of crafters, that's not a robust strategy. That opens you wide up to interruptions in your supply chain. I have a master's in this topic, and I still find it difficult just in a video game. So I would say that's probably the greatest challenge that I think we've encountered doing what we do. And we have a lot of tools and systems in place to make this hurdle far more simple. And the only way that I would say it's even possible to achieve the simplicity that we have is just keep doing it. You just have to do it for a long period of time. You have to encounter new challenges. You have to try a suggestion, it fails, refine it, try it again, refine it again, until it gets to a state where it's not like a part-time job. And we've overcome it by just doing that through years in Albion Online and an Ultima Online remake we're playing, where it's to a point where it's simple enough that it's not, I don't consider it a job anymore.
Yeah, and it certainly can be. I ran a guild myself for 10 years, from Warhammer Online into Guild Wars 2 and beyond, and it was a lot of work. It took but I surrounded myself by good people, good officers, and that made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Now,
I'm gonna
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
add to this too, if you don't mind.
No.
Yeah. So basically, there's also a people component to this too, and it's the type of player that we attract. Um, it can be very hit or miss. They can either subscribe to what the guild does, or they could be more you know pirate
Chasing the
or
dopamine.
cowboy, where they just want to do their own thing no matter what. And then like the moment that there's some sort of disagreement, they're trying to just rally up a couple friends
Hmm.
within the guild, and then trying to basically overthrow you,
Yeah. Some
and
dissension.
then start a coup. They really will, or just start an insurrection. We've had that happen multiple
Or a
times.
mutiny, I guess would be more C C related.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had a handful of times where that's happened, and I got to say, without having like officers in place, a ring of people that you can trust, a team of people that you can trust, with the nature of this type of guild and the type of more so aggressive or hostile type of players that you attract. You basically you got to have your own team, because otherwise it becomes there's more of them than there is of you. And if you've got everything set up and in place and your team's in place, then your team will make sure that that mutiny never happens, that usurp never comes. So there is definitely a big people component to this type of guild. It's not your typical blue type of guild where it's always kumbaya every single time, and then okay, something's
Oh
not
yeah.
working out, or there's a guild leader that's just not as active. Okay, choose a new guild leader. That would really never fly. This type of guild will self destruct, literally will self destruct. How fast would you say, Jeff? Like, or Rag, like in a 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Literally two
quick.
or three weeks, everything will crumble. Everything.
If they don't have like if a guild that's focused on PvP or player killing PK guild doesn't have like a really robust team of guys who all have guildmaster experience, and they can't like pass the torch between each other, as like one has a baby, the other one's moving, another one is getting a new job, so that just like we're able to pass it to somebody else who has the experience of running a large guild. That just that alone makes what we've built far more robust than a lot of the PvP guilds that we have encountered in Albion. And just we only know that because we've experienced it, we've run into those roadblocks ourselves, and we ultimately decided that it can't just be one or two guys at the top. You need to have like 5 or 6 that you feel comfortable, trust enough, and are confident enough to be able to handle putting their hands on the steering wheel while you back off and focus on IRL stuff. uh, if you don't have that, a guild that's aggressive as ours, you ain't gonna make it.
Now, speaking of that, you brought that up. Having those good officers and stuff like that. Are you choosing who your officers are going to be yet, or are you going off of Alpha One experience, or are you going to wait until
Uh,
Alpha Two to really kind of pick them out?
Jin's
No,
got a
we've already
great aim
picked
for
them
this one.
out. Yeah, 100%. So we've, over the years of gaming, you do pick up a few friends along the way. You do find, capable people, and then you definitely realize that it doesn't matter. Like especially when we're playing Albion, in such a ruthless game where nobody gives, a shit about anybody, and they're just there to steal your shit the moment that they earn your
Yeah.
trust, which happens.
Yeah.
They'll oh, you gave me access to the bank, and then just instantly withdraw it. I'm cashing in right now on this friendship. But when you have friendships that transcend from games to games to games to games to games, it becomes less important to them, for them to do that to you. So then you acquire those friendships. And then there's also the different types of friendships where you go through trial by fire through Albion Online, where they're going through the gauntlet, and then you find the capable people, that can make it, and you see those that stand out, and the quality of people that you get, and when you find those diamond type of players that synergize well with you, that trust you, that want to work with you, and you bring them in, and you definitely make them feel like they're a part of it, because those type of players are worth 100 players. Each person that you have is worth 100 players, just because they will be able to retain 100 players, uh, just on them alone.
Very good. Now, this is kind of like a three-part question here. One, I'm assuming that you guys still have open recruitment. Also, is your guild an 18 plus guild? Will you accept people who are younger in guild? And you've touched on this a little bit, but more specifically, how are you going about recruiting new members, and what qualities are you looking for in your potential guild mates?
So let's start with the first one, and I believe it was what's our strategy for recruiting, right? That was the
Hmm.
first part of your question.
Well, are you open for recruiting currently? And yes, what's your strategy for that?
Okay. So we're currently open for recruiting, and we have if you ever join our server, you're going to see almost nothing. Like 99% of it is going to be cut off to you. And then you have to fill out a questionnaire, and we've set up recruiting to be very, very simple by design, because if it's not simple, stupid, and easy for someone like me or one of our recruiters to go through and hit yay or nay, you're just going to burn through recruiters like crazy until no one wants to do it. Um, so they're going to click one button, a questionnaire is going to fill out, and once they answer all those questions, someone like me or my recruiters are going to have all the information we need about whether or not this person's a good fit. And if they're not, based on the answers we see, we just hit one button and they're kicked out of the server, and that's the end of it. Uh, that process alone has made recruitment and retention way simpler, because we're not bringing in like people that aren't the right fit. Uh, we don't have to do like lengthy one-on-one interviews with hundreds of people over months at a time.
Definitely more objective than subjective.
Yeah.
And is it 18 plus, or are you accepting people that are younger, or does it
We
matter?
have accepted a handful of people that are 16, 17, but typically most of the time it's even 18 plus, and even then, it's
I
we
kind of want to
examine
move
the
up to
maturity of the
22.
player too.
Well, heck, at the
You know,
current
we
pace, Margaret's baby might be old enough to play by the time the game comes out. So, who
right.
knows?
That's that's another thing too. So like, if I recruit someone that's 16 or 17, by the time the game comes out, they'll be definitely of age. So that's
Exactly.
why we examine the maturity of the individual to let them in, because oftentimes too, what we find is you have to have a good synergy among members, right? So like if you get someone that's just immature and just not meshing well, right? Because I mean, like, you got to think about the type of culture of our guild. They're just not going to put up with, someone that's just too immature. You'll basically just have people leaving the guild just because they don't want to talk to people in the voice chat
Hmm.
all the time, that are just constantly in there just being annoying, and then the guild leadership just allows that. So we would just instantly we would just get rid of them right there on the spot and just say it's not working out. Bye.
Yeah,
Now,
we only had like two guys that were below 18, and I slapped the wrist of the guy who let him in.
now the guys who now you're coming from Albion mostly, so you're looking for hardcore PvPers. Do these guys, when they come in with you, do they have to have like a trial by combat to stay in the guild, or because I'm sure you're looking for very specific good PvP players, or are you willing to work with them and help train them?
Both.
It's go ahead, you got it.
Uh, okay, so both, because originally I would say we did want just trial by combat type of scenarios, or just we'll get to pick and choose. Obviously, like when the game launches, we'll be choosing our best players, because there's only going to be 30 slots to start with, and until you can expand on that, bring more players in. um, we've changed our guild structure several times just by playing Albion and just learning the things we did. I can't tell you how
Mhm.
much just Albion has taught, but it has been a great teacher. And it'll be both, because we want to cultivate people at the same time, and then we'll have a different section of the guild that's going to be specifically for your top type of players
Okay.
I
And
wanna
that
I
will
wanna
have to earn their way into that.
I'd also like to expand upon that. Like, so in terms of like trial by combat, like when your guild exceeds like a certain size, I would probably say like if you want to do trial by combat to enter, like probably the largest you could manage that is maybe like 50, and then it's just unrealistic to constantly be testing people like that. Um, I've learned just from doing all these PvP MMOs that we have is people are trainable. And like some people are and some people aren't. And just like the people who are not trainable, like you're gonna see it. So I'm okay with letting people in so long as they want to PvP, so long as they have the willingness. And if they take the time to figure it out, they're gonna do well. If they're not trainable and they can't handle like being in a PvP guild, it's not really important whether or not I can train them because they weed themselves out. They
Yeah.
get frustrated. They leave. They keep dying, and they're like, "I hate it here." And then they leave of their own accord.
Mm,
Like it's not really an it's a non. I consider it a non-issue because it's an issue that solves itself. Those people don't last. They think that they want to be in a guild full of wolves, and then they recognize like, oh, I don't actually enjoy this kind of play style, and then they're gone, which is
yeah.
fine.
No, that makes
It's
sense.
also it's also like a self-governing community too, because I mean the community is just going to be like, "What are you doing here? Like
Yep.
this is just not working out." And like the community will reject that individual. The individual will not feel welcome, and then that individual will just naturally leave on their own.
That makes sense. One of the other questions that I got for you guys, and this is going to be kind of an interesting one, is how are you planning on interacting with other guilds in the game, both allies and rivals? Are you going to be looking to just go to war with pretty much anybody just for shits and giggles, or are you going to be a little bit more diplomatic?
We're going to do whatever it takes to gain an advantage in PvP. So like
And are you
I
going for a
know.
node first? Sorry to interrupt you. Are you planning on trying to take over a node?
I mean, of course, but
Okay.
like that's probably a pretty cookie cutter answer. Every guild is trying to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of server first guilds and stuff like that. But I imagine you're going to focus on the coastal node or the one that's going to. I think they said they're going to have a node out on an island somewhere. So I would imagine that would be your target.
Well, we'll
Y-
see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, RagonRock.
No, it's okay. In terms of like, because we've been asked this several times by now, but like, do you have any allies? Is there anyone that you have a particular rivalry with? Uh, I would say it's a little preemptive to choose who they are because I mean we don't know enough about the game. Like we're definitely
Mm.
leaning towards the entire alliance just being only Blacksails, and then in the words of Robert Baratheon of Game of Thrones, if you like that show,
Oh, I love it.
one leader, one purpose. Uh, but yeah, I mean, if the game is structured in a way that indicates something else is more meta, we'll explore it. But it's just far too soon to look at other guilds, find out are they going to last? Because we've been in a lot of alliances in previous PvP MMOs, and we've quickly learned that like most guilds just don't survive longer than 6 months. And like being a guild that's lasted multiple years, we're coming up with year three of like I don't mean just like existing in a Discord, like existing in a PvP MMO setting. Uh, I just don't really have a lot of interest in building a relationship with a guild that I don't know if they have the chops to survive in a PvP MMO that we haven't even started playing yet. And it's going to be on a case by case basis. I'm going to take a look at a guild leader and see like, okay, how much are you recruiting? How many Excel spreadsheets do you have? The more spreadsheets, the less competent I'm going to think you are. Uh, how's your retention rate? Are you guys failing a lot? If you fail, like how are you addressing it? That's how we're going to go about it. So, do we have anybody picked out at this time? No, because nobody's tested.
That kind of goes and leads into my next question. Maybe you can expound on it a little bit. And this is a unique situation because there are two GMs. So, what would you say that your leadership style is, and how do you manage and motivate your members? Do you even need to motivate your members, or do they should they already know what their expectations are?
So I guess I'll just briefly state what I'll say, and then Rag, I'll let you go next. But it's really a nice division of labor. So just like we said, like you need a team of people, especially like with this type of guild, this type of community. So and then it's also nice to sometimes play good cop, bad cop too. With certain individuals because it definitely helps you deter situations. Uh, yeah, things like this. So you have one that's I guess I don't know. What would you say your role is, Rag?
I would always describe myself as my style to leading people is honorably ruthless. Uh, People know that I'm fair, but they also know that I'm going to do whatever I think is necessary to protect the guild overall. And if that encompasses them, that's great. If it's starting to look like that's not going to encompass them, and their eyes are starting to wander to other guilds, or they're starting to not look like the right fit, like I'm not going to hesitate. Um, on the other side of that coin, I would always label you as the more charismatic one. Uh, I really like your style. I don't know if you read business literature, Peon. I would
No.
describe I would describe Jin here as a big proponent of the 10x rule. And I mean, if you don't feel like reading the book, to consolidate it into one sentence, it's basically aim for the stars, settle for the moon sort of style.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense.
It's a lot of PR type of stuff. Just guild management. Making sure that the guild is in harmony. Smoothly. Operations. Things like this.
That leads me to my next question: is how are you going to? Every guild has them, and we've touched on it a little bit, but how are you going to handle some conflicts or disagreements within the guild?
Well, fortunately, we've had just in the past like 3 or 4 years now, we've gone through so many conflicts within our guild, within other guilds, within alliances, etc. That I would say of all things, we have a pretty good handle on how to handle these, and it's just we. So you asked earlier about like our ranking structure.
Mm-hmm.
Our O1s and our officer candidates, they are almost always going to be more personally connected with whoever it is that is causing a problem at that time, and I let them handle it. But after the third time, where the officer who is most personally connected to this problem, if they can't find a way to solve it after three, I remove whoever or whatever the problem is, and that's the end of it. And it is ruthless, but I know our members really appreciate that I'm not going to hesitate. If someone's creating issues, I'm always going to handle it. There's nothing anyone is going to say that is going to dissuade me from doing what I think is best for everybody.
Yep.
So there has been plenty of times in the past where someone they weren't jiving, they had a disagreement, and we couldn't come to terms, and I had to remove them, even though I liked them as a person, even consider them a friend.
Just like in anything, you're not going to be able to please everybody and stuff like that. So, and not
I have
everyone's
not
going to
dealt
be
with
a
that
fit.
long ago.
Welcome to my underground lair.
Hey,
Yeah,
Golden Feather Tavern, thank you for the raid. 59 viewers, thank you guys very much. I appreciate you guys in the raid. Awesome, thank you. Let me give you a shout out real quick. Go ahead, Jen. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just going to add to that and just really just say, like, we've learned that when certain members basically start to get too close to a GM, um, it looks like favoritism. They start feeling like they have some clout. Like, yeah, I got relationships with the GM, especially within our type of guild where it's hostile red pirate PvP type of guild, corruption, where they start to throw that weight around, and then it becomes a problem. And so, in order to remove that, where now I'm conflicted, or let's say Rag is conflicted with what to do with a certain individual, because now they've developed a relationship with us, it makes it harder for us to make the correct decision. And then if you have several layers of officers in between that, where they have a lot of those relationships in place, right, and then they can just objectively come to you with the information, it's easier on that specific officer if we can make the hard decision for them, because then it just doesn't jeopardize their relationships with their the members that are let's say in their group or something like that, where they made the hard decision and now there's other hard feelings towards that individual.
Yep.
Long story short, like, people want to make friends. People don't want to throw their friend out. And
No.
if we can take on that burden of, like,
Ladies and
I know you like
gentlemen,
them, but I think deep down you also know that they probably shouldn't be here. People appreciate the fact that we can make those tough choices, and it's not that burden isn't on their shoulders.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome
And let me
to
tell
my
you, when you don't
underground
properly
lair.
handle that, you will lose 10 people instead of that one person.
Yep.
10 people with.
No, yeah, absolutely. I
Ladies
remember
and
those days.
gentlemen,
Thank you,
welcome
everybody,
to
for all the
my
follows. I
underground
appreciate it. Thank
lair.
you again, Golden Feather Tavern, for the raid. What now, the Alpha one was relatively short considering. Do you have any memorable experiences you can, even though we didn't have naval content, any memorable experiences from the Alpha one you can share with the rest of us?
Jin, that's you 100%.
Well, we had about 30 Alpha 1 players that had the Alpha 1 pack at that time. I would say the first few days there was a lot of like rubber banding and like
Mm.
resets, and it completely discouraged, I would say, about 70% of the people that were playing in our guild at that time. Um, I guess after that, once they figured out that issues, a memorable event that you would say,
Mhm.
I guess I would say I found out really great, gold farming tactics, like with the dragon that was on a certain
Oh.
island. I forget what its name is.
I
That
think I
lava,
remember that dragon. I think I remember those.
it's kind of like on a little island, like in the water. Like
Mhm.
it's not very big at all. It's just like a patch of sand. It's yeah, I guess you call that an island.
Jin,
But
weren't you the mayor of Tutorial City?
yes, and then I also became the mayor of the city. And there were other guilds that were not happy about that at all,
Strong
because at
opinions.
this point, we received lots of messages from guilds that would just start up and get created,
Ladies
and they're,
and
let's say,
gentlemen, welcome
bounty
to
hunter
my
guilds, and like, we're
underground
coming after
lair.
your corruption guild. And so they had it out for us, and the whole community, is like, just has it out for us. So when Jin, the guild leader of Blacksails, becomes the mayor of a city, a lot of people were not happy about that.
Now, what are some of your long-term aspirations other than sea domination? What are your long-term aspirations for your guild in Ashes of Creation, and how do you see your guild evolving as the game continues to develop?
Brad, go ahead
So
and answer that.
thanks. So, long-term aspirations are, we really want to further develop our community and cultivate more adults that are really competent guild leaders and shot callers that are able to do that and still have like a job, able to do that and balance a family, adults. And you'll notice I didn't really say anything about Ashes just now. It's because all goals in Ashes, all those are completed based on what I previously said being met. Like they're a symptom of it. So like if you have a lot of really competent guys that you really trust that can they can handle responsibility, because I mean that's their life. Their life is responsibility, and you have a whole bunch of people like that in your corner. The world is your oyster. Like we were able to create a pretty powerful Albion guild with just like about a half dozen people like that, and we have more now. But I'm excited to see what kind of empire we can build in Ashes if we had like 20 of those guys, and I want to keep building. I just want to keep expanding the community with real mature adults that I can trust. And I mean, Ashes will probably peter out someday, hopefully a long time from now. And then we
Hopefully, I'll be dead by
Take
that
those.
time.
I am no, of course not. I'm hoping at that time we've expanded the community even further and we can move on to the next one. And the connections we make with these really top shelf guys doesn't die with Ashes. That's really ties into the first question you asked about like what's the whole point of Blacksails. It's to bring people like that together.
Yep. No, absolutely. And
It's like
go,
the
go ahead,
systems
Jen.
in place. Oh yeah, it's like basically the systems in place. During Albion Online, we had our total team size between administration people and then also leaders. We had 23 people on our team. Just people that we can trust on the administration side. There's different ranks, between that, and then also on the leadership side, we had just a hierarchy of that. A total of 23 people while we were, really aggressively going after in Albion Online. So by having those things set up, we will be able to just control as much as we possibly can within Ashes of Creation.
Now, one of the things that I love, on the YouTube channel, the naval videos always get a lot of views. People really love the naval videos, and I always make sure that I add into people, especially like those fishermen out there. They better watch their backside. because
Me not that kind of orc.
because the pirates are out there and they're looking to steal fishies. I mean, why spend all the time out there fishing when they can just steal your boat and then take your fish and sell it and run your boat into the ground? But how do you think your pirate guild or piracy will influence the game's economy, especially when it comes to naval trade routes and the maritime resources becoming so vital?
I think we both got good answers for that one. Jin, why don't you take it first?
Well, we've spent a lot of time talking specifically about this when we were, originally brainstorming, and obviously the game has changed, over time. And then, back
Ladies
when
and
we started the
gentlemen,
guild
welcome to my
almost 4 years ago,
underground lair.
coming up in August, the ocean wasn't even a corruption-free zone where it
No.
was like immediately, you were placed in combat. So, we just expected to be red all the time. Um, and that's just where we plan to live and just stay grouped together so that it would make it hard for, let's say, a party of 2 or 3 or 4 just
Ladies
to
and
try to gang
gentlemen,
up
welcome to my
up on us. So
underground
we plan to
lair.
just stay grouped together pretty much almost at all times, and that's how we basically trained our guild in Albion, is basically just sticking together, stay in a group, do what you're supposed to do. Don't go off and do something stupid, because you very quickly see what happens to you when you do just go off. So we're very ready to handle just being very sustainable. And then obviously, like with having group coordination like that, there's going to be a lot of ships that get sunk, and obviously it's going to be difficult for a lot of people to overcome that if they're not prepared. But Rag, go ahead and expand on that.
So you asked about how you think we're going to have an impact on the economy. Um, I don't know how we'll impact the economy, but I do know that it might surprise you, but I think that our presence will have very little impact on choices of trade routes. Just playing other PvP MMOs in the past, like merchant players are going to pick the most optimal trade routes. Consequences be damned. And you'd think that they wouldn't, but they
Ladies and
just do,
gentlemen,
and they just
welcome
do,
to
and
my
they just do.
underground
So
lair.
it could be very well known that we're very prevalent in the shortest trade routes possible, but merchant players are still going to do it. They're still going to be there. They're still going to get ambushed, because it's very hard to break away from the mindset of min-maxing your time. They're like, yes, you could go this other route and it would add a half hour to your journey, but you don't have a half hour, or you didn't plan for a half hour. The route you plan for is 45 minutes. It's already going to be long. The idea of lengthening that even further is just, you didn't calculate your time for that, and you don't want to get halfway through it and log out.
YOLO.
Yeah. So I'm just going to take the risk. And that's just what they do. I'm not a merchant player, but I have interacted with them negatively many times, and that's just the patterns of behavior I've seen over many years. They're not going to change.
You guys are providing some really great answers, and I really appreciate you taking the time to really go in depth. I hope you guys use this on your website to give people who are maybe interested in joining a better look at you two. They probably be very useful, and I'm hoping a lot of people will click on this video and learning all about Blacksails and how you guys operate. What
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, I know Thogley said that he was going to do it with his dwarf guild, and I'm hoping it comes off across well enough to future members that maybe they could find this useful. But what advice would you give to perhaps another guild leader that's looking to start a all pirate guild?
Oh man.
I got a lot. Well, let me.
Oh, man.
I know you have one, Jen, but I have one fired up right now. Let me start this one up. I know you have several though. I'm not even gonna start with just a pirate guild specifically. I'm just gonna say like a PvP guild in general. I'm not gonna bother like mentioning the tools and tricks, because like you can find that on your own. I'll tell you the things that you can only figure out just by doing it and failing, and then maybe someone who's listening to this can like skip those painful steps. The first one I would say is like, as a leader, you have to manage like other people's output, of course, but something I have to really like take the time to coach all new officers with. And like, to be frank, that every new person in leadership is bad at this. It's manage your own output. Like, you have to be able to project, like, you might be doing a lot right now, but you have to be able to keep track of, like, how long am I going to be able to maintain this level of output? Am I going to subconsciously look for reasons to not do this? Is there things in real life that I am currently neglecting to achieve this level of output that as soon as those IRL things catch up to me, I'm going to drop? And then, like, the guild is going to suffer a negative impact for that. It's very, very important for someone who wants to run a PvP guild specifically to keep track of that and really figure out, like, what is my real output, and be realistic. Because if you're overextending yourself, but it just hasn't hit yet because you don't know, because you're not tracking your own self, when those IRL things catch up, or you just don't like what you're doing, so you're going to find reasons to not do it eventually, your guild could potentially just die right then and there because you just weren't realistic. So as you're just managing other people, the most important person you have to manage is yourself. So if you're taking on too much, you have to scale back right now.
And Jen, did you want to chime in on this?
I'm just going to say right there to that exact sentence that we've really, both Rag and I have directly experienced that. We get burnt out. We don't want to log, in, or, we just kind of want to, like, let's just play a casual game of Dota 2 and just turn off our brains, right? Just
What is casual about Dota?
Like, you don't have to think about the politics of your guild, and then managing transports and talking to certain individuals, and it is a lot. So I mean, like, just mentally fatiguing in that type of sense. But yeah, Rag and I both have had to basically learn to delegate, and then manage our time and our mental capacity to be able to just maintain a certain level of output that we can keep the guild going.
Yeah, there's been several times where I have intentionally held back, or I've gone to, like, a really high performing officer who I know I'm going to promote, and, like, the advice, whenever, like, really great officers ask for critical feedback, the advice I give to the really good ones, because the really good ones all have the same problem of just, like, you need to ensure that you're not doing too much, because I'm not thinking about what you did today. I'm not thinking about what you're going to do next week. I'm thinking about what you're going to look like in 3 or 4 months from now. And if I think you're not going to be able to maintain this and you're going to, like, burn out, you're just going to want to play something more casual as a break, like, it's time to address that now, because I think you're really talented and I don't want you to burn out. So, like, please do less today. I would say that's the advice that I give to all the best leaders that we see and cultivate in our own guild.
It's a lot of good advice. That's a lot of good feedback. And we've talked a lot about your guild and the pirate guild. And if you guys have a few more minutes, I'd like to transition into just a few thoughts on what you're thinking about Ashes of Creation. And if you do have a few minutes, I'd like to find what really drew you to Ashes of Creation. What made you really want to come to this game? What about the game itself do you really love?
I want to answer this before you do, because I know, Jeff, you have a nice, probably thought out answer for that. So, Rag originally followed the game, and then he showed me, and I'm like, oh wow, this is cool. And so, by the way, when he did show me the game, I think there was like this cosmetic. I think it was somewhere in 2019. There's this cosmetic pack with, like, this. I don't know if there's, like, this white horse with, like, elven knights and kind of like this more serene type of cosmetic pack. And then right after that, there was this this all black ship that looked basically demonic, or like from hell, and it had Blacksails. And I didn't get that pack, and let me tell you, I'm not happy about not getting that pack. That extremely bothers me. We do have one person in the guild that does have that, so I am happy in that sense.
That's good. That's
But
good.
yeah, he showed me the game a long time ago, and at that time I was like, yeah, that looks pretty cool, pretty good, pretty cool. I didn't buy into it just yet, but then over time, the game was looking more and more appealing to me as we were watching the development updates, and Rag is really into um, following along with what's going on in the gaming in industry and just seeing like what's good, what's coming up for PvP type of games, and he was just more and more attracted to this type of game. He showed it to me. So Rag, I'll let you speak more on it.
I'm always kind of paying attention to like the latest and greatest PvP MMOs that come out because I mean Ultima Online and Albion Online really like kind of ruined me for other MMOs.
Hmm.
If there isn't like the potential dynamic negative consequence that you can have with another player, uh I can't play the game anymore if that chance doesn't exist. I don't have any interest. So when I saw Ashes coming out and I saw that it was only a partial full loot, I found that to be very attractive. And I know based on everything we've said up to this point, that might be puzzling because I thought it had the real potential to really blow up because something about full loop PvP MMOs, as fun as they are, they're very, very polarizing. People have very, very extreme responses to not just losing, but losing everything they own.
Yes.
And a lot of people just can't handle that. Uh, I think a game that dabbles in it rather than goes all in is going to really explode. So
Yeah.
when I'm looking at, and I really love ZVZ, I think Albion Online has some of the best ZVZ mechanics I've ever seen. And I'm looking at Ashes and I'm seeing it's definitely going in that direction of like really large scale combat where you have one guy leading like hundreds of people, maybe like just shy of 1,000, and your individual skills less important. It's all about can you manage hundreds of people and get them all in the same place at the same time with the right gear, with the right mount, at the right speed. Uh, I really enjoy that. And I think Ashes has the potential to really have a very enormous audience that has a long-term retention.
Yeah. 100%.
In full loot PvP MMOs,
Not
like
so
retention
much.
is
Yeah.
generally not very good because like someone who's just trying it out, never done that before, they'll go out and they'll get their stuff and they'll go out and fight because they hear this is a fighting game, and then they lose all that stuff and then it's just like, well, screw this game, and then they're done. And like so retention for those kinds of games is just it's generally very, very poor. So when I saw that this game was very uh hard nosed on focusing on being a partial full loot PvP MMO for like large scale battles, I'm like, okay, this thing has potential to be a very, very strong contender as one of the strongest PvP MMOs in the next couple decades.
Yep. I
That's what really caught my eye.
I 100% agree, and I think that the fact that a lot of people, there's a lot of PVEers, and there's probably way more PVEers to be honest than there are PvPers. And
Oh,
being a
100%.
PVX game, I think when people, especially when they're max level, when they find out that they're only losing 1/3 of their harvestables, it's really like we said earlier. It's just a slap on the wrist. I think people will get used to it very easily, and be accepting of that. I think maybe they'll feel more butthurt about losing their caravan and all the if they tried to overload their caravan and without protecting it too much, they might get more upset about something like that. But just dying and losing a little bit, even to a corrupted player, it's not going to be that big. I think Jen, you were going to say something.
Yeah, and just I'll add on to this what you just said, and then I'll add on to what Rag said. But yeah, also being upset if we wait outside your raid dungeon, waiting for all of those materials.
That's going to happen a lot.
collected.
That's going to happen. Just
Yeah.
don't wait outside my hidden dagger inn unless you're looking for a barmaid,
Yeah.
and then we can do that around the back alley because Steven said no brothels. But I can work something out with you guys if you're looking for that. But
Since there is no teleporting,
well, family summoning. Now remember, there is family summoning.
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
What I was going to add on to Rag's comment, basically, I used to be a proponent of the red life, make my red life easier as possible, give me more rights, give me more benefits, make my life as easy as possible. And after playing in just different MMOs like Albion Online, and also another one we played like Legends of Aria, we've just come to realize that it's not healthy for the game. And so I'm not a proponent for that anymore. Just being in the, I guess, the red scene, for as long as I have, I want the blue players to actually have more advantages to where they feel like there's a chance against a group like us. Because if they don't feel like there's a chance, they just leave the game and they quit, and that's it. And you'll have that in massive waves where they'll just leave the game. And I've seen it happen. There is servers where you just see that happen in PvP scenarios, and it's just not fun. Who wants to play in a game like that where there's no population? So I would welcome the challenge for a more red play style, or like a red or corrupted type of guild to overcome those odds. And yeah.
It sounds like you really like a lot of just the specific game mechanics that Ashes has put out. Now, one of the questions I like to ask all the content creators that we plan to have on here and the other guild leaders was, if Ashes did not have the node system, would you still want to play it? Would it still be for you?
Probably not. Because, especially based on the most recent stream that we watched, where the most recent stream was very telling. Like, the way I interpret the most recent stream about, the node wars is the warfare isn't going to happen once a month to, whack a node or, de-level it rather than just completely destroy it. As soon as nodes start hitting level 3, you are in perpetual warfare with one another, trying to claim this mine or take this quarry or defend them from taking this area that has a lot of really good wood that you make for your archers or whatever. Since every battle isn't to defend your city, and it's not once a month, and it only takes a day to fill a commission to declare that battle, every guild, if they want to participate in that, is going to be in a state of perpetual warfare or preparing for it.
Yep. I am very excited about the Node Wars stream. As a matter of fact, I was telling some of my friends that I'm going to need to watch it about 4 times because there was so much information in that.
Great information too.
Yeah, and I just have to sit down and absorb it. I don't know about for you guys, but on my Twitch stream when I was watching it, not when I was streaming, but watching them, it was a little bit choppy. I don't know what was going on. But
that's because they were hopping between perspectives, and some people had kind of similar looking gear on. So you may not have noticed unless you looked at their tiny little name above their head. It actually was more crisp than it appeared. They hop perspectives often. But if that whole system of perpetual warfare wasn't in the game, that would greatly decrease any interest that I would have in running a guild in there, because then it's just, ganking is fun, but there's a limit to how much you can scale that up.
Yeah.
I really like large battles, and without node system, I don't think that would exist in Ashes at all.
And I know you wanted to touch on this earlier because you mentioned something about one of the videos that I had. What do you think? Let's get both your predictions on when do you think Alpha 2 is going to be and why.
I'm realistic because I work in a lot of large organizations. I have for quite a while now, and just deadlines get pushed back. It's just a fact of life. I don't think I've ever heard of some corporate benchmark where a deadline was met, for a significant one anyway. It's always delayed by a month or a quarter or whatever. So I would be very happy if Ashes happened in Q3, August.
He did confirm again, although I did sense some hesitation in Margaret's voice this time. Did you not?
I'm sure. Okay.
Yeah, I heard hesitation in Margaret's voice, but Steven did confirm again. So, it makes me wonder if, that's the second or third time that he's done that in a row. So I'm really hoping that, he's right.
The CEO is more a spokesperson than someone who really understands every aspect of the game. Because, when they get to that point of Q3 where they're thinking of, okay, let's leave it open to the public, no NDA required, people are going to be streaming it, the masses are going to be picking this apart.
Yeah.
He's going to have a lot more people giving him input rather than him just kind of winging it off the cuff on a live stream, and a lot more people who have more hands on it than Steven, who's kind of leading the charge and telling people what to do rather than coding it himself. are going to start revealing their opinion of like, we need to push this back. I would bet quite a lot it's going to be delayed to Q1 of 25.
Oof. It's not what I want to hear, man. It's not what I want to hear. But you know what?
You've seen it. You've watched a whole bunch of MMOs over the years get released. Like, how many alpha and beta tests were released exactly when they initially said it was? Name one.
No.
Probably you probably can't. I can.
No.
So meet my guild leader Reg. So this is the hard pill that he likes to give of the least optimism. 100%. I'm more optimistic.
You're a more glass half full guy, right?
I guess if you want to put it that way.
All right,
we'll
go that way.
I see Steven Sharif as a very competent person. So like, I see him as already predicting that in quarter 2, like, you know, they probably won in quarter 2, and then he's like, no, let's just do quarter 3, just to give us more adequate time. So I think that he was already shooting for quarter 2 and then just naturally pushed quarter 3. And so just depending on where they're at in the progress, I don't expect August. I would be hopeful for September.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be July like I predicted, but that was my story, and I'm sticking to it until I'm proven wrong. You never know.
Right. So I'm thinking September, maybe beginning of September, maybe first or second week of September. That's really what I'm guessing.
Hey, thank you, Shots, for the subscription. Now, again, I really appreciate you guys both taking the time to come out tonight, especially on short notice. And I hope everybody here who's watching it now and watching it later has learned a lot about your guild and what their expectations will be. On my one final thought, I want to see, do you have any final thoughts or shout outs that you'd like to give to your guild members or developers of Ashes Creation, or any other shout out to you or conversation you want to have?
I would really just say if you want to find us and join our guild, we're always posting in the Ashes of Creation Discord server, and NAOC recruitment section for Blacksails. If you liked what you heard, you're more than welcome to come apply and join. One of our, you just fill out the application and one of us will get to you. Shout outs, I'll definitely give out a shout out to my guild members. We have a lot of a nice core community that has just been around for a long time, and they're really the backbone of our guild too, because without them supporting us, our guild is absolutely nothing. You don't have a ring of members that love and push the Blacksails ideology and for what it stands for, then it's just absolutely nothing. So I'm just giving a shout out to all our guild members.
Awesome. And you, Reg?
No, he covered it great. We nothing would be here if it wasn't for the plethora of really great guys and a handful of women that helped build up what we have today. And it took a lot of effort. It took a lot of sacrifice and hard work to do this. And I will mention this to anyone who is considering applying. Like, I think we've done a really good job of cultivating this environment in a manner that eliminates anyone who might be overly aggressive or kind of like a dramatic or a bit of an asshole. And we've only done that. We've only been able to achieve that by being just highly selective, and anyone who's a problem, we get rid of them. So if there's any sort of hesitation on that point of like you think it might be a little extreme for you, we've done a pretty good job at getting rid of anybody that I would describe that way.
All right. Well, I really, again, appreciate you guys taking the time to join us tonight. I hope you had a good time. And for everybody else out there, we're going to go ahead, if you would stay in the channel for just about 2 more minutes, we're going to go ahead and raid Nice Gaming tonight, so you guys can check him out, another great content creator. But one more big thank you to Blacksails, everybody. And you guys have a wonderful night and a wonderful rest of the weekend. Okay, guys? I appreciate everybody for coming on.
Thanks so much for having us, and we did have a good time. Had more of a good time than I thought I would. So
great. Excellent. I love to hear that. And you know what? I'd love if you guys get a chance at some point, maybe when the game comes out or later in Alpha 2, if you guys want to, we can revisit this and see how things are going.
Thanks for that invitation. All right.